Hello and welcome. I am so excited for today's live stream. We are joined with a guest who is from across the pond. Sterling?
Me duck.
Now, welcome back to Vegas Aces live stream. My name is Heather Ferris, and I will be your host for the day. We are joined with a guest, again, from across the pond. But Sterling, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you. I'm Sterling. Originally from Nottingham, currently living in Belfast. I was a dealer for about 3 years. I've worked in Nottingham and Edinburgh. I mainly dealt roulette, blackjack, 3-card poker, 4-card poker, and different variants of the games.
Sweet. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for coming on and sharing your stories. And I'm really excited to hear what you have to say and your experiences and everything. And for those of you guys who are watching, we are doing Casino Stories UK version. If you guys have any questions or comments or suggestions, please put them in the chat and we will get to them at the very end of this video. And as always, before we get started, I just want to remind you to subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you're always notified of our latest videos and live streams. If you are brand new to this channel and this is your first time here, my name is Heather Ferris and I am the founder of Vegas Aces. I'm also an adjunct professor at UNLV, a content creator, consultant, and I've been in the casino industry for over 15 years. I created Vegas Aces as a way to help people learn how to play and deal casino table games, and as a way to give back to the community. We offer a free dealing trade school where we help place dealers at no cost. Okay, now on with the show. Sweet. Okay, so hi.
Oh,
I am so excited. So I guess the first thing we should do is you want to tell us like how you got into the industry, how you got into dealing, where specifically you dealt, and did you enjoy it? Did you like it?
I did really enjoy the job. Like at times it was difficult and there was times where you're just like, I can't do this anymore. Like I've had enough. But looking back, I'm like, I actually had one, like best part of my life was working in casinos. Obviously I got started through a friend. I was working in a bar, really hated the job, really naff hours, absolutely hated it. And I just went on a night out with one of my mates. He bumped into one of his mates who worked at the casinos, got us an interview, and I started as a cashier. So working in the cash desk or the cage. And I was like, dealing looks really fun because I'd just be sat because I didn't have a license at this point. I couldn't do anything. I was just sat drinking coffee, reading the manual, like just enjoying life and getting paid for it. And it was a case of I was looking over and you'd see everyone dealing. It's like, that actually looks fun. That looks challenging. So I spoke to management and they got everything through and just basically went, all right, start on training school.
Nice. So you went through the casinos training school. Was it a free training school that they had?
Yeah. So basically it was all in-house. Like, it was a case of, look, just come along, because 9 times out of 10, if you passed the training school, you basically was guaranteed a job. Like, as long as you passed your probationary period, it was like, come work for us kind of thing.
Now, was it one of those things where if you don't pass, you would then have to pay them back for the school?
No, I think the only time we would have to pay anything back is during our time in training school. They wanted us to start applying for our license. So it was then a case of, right, okay, your license has now been paid for. And it was a case of if you left within a certain time, you had to pay the casino through your wages, basically pay back the cost of the license.
Okay. And what was the process of getting the license, and then how much would they have to, or how long did they have to stay in order to not have to pay back the cost of the license?
So I think it was a case of, what was it? I think it worked out like 3 years, or like just under, like maybe 2 years, and the license was virtually paid for. So it was a case of like after 2 years, you didn't have to pay for it. I think if you left after a year, you ain't paid like half.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't the full amount.
No, but to be fair, I think it only costs about £200.
Oh, okay.
So it's not too bad. So I think $150. I think. Don't quote me.
And what was the process of getting the license? What were some of the things that they looked out for?
So to get your license, you had to obviously fill in forms, send in. I had to send in my passport, my provisional driving license, my birth certificates, proof of address. I had to give them an extensive list of where I'd lived for the past 10 years, which is quite easy because I'd only just moved out of my parents' house at that point. So I just had to put 2 addresses. I was like, well, easy. Then they're like, education, or for the past 10 years. I'm like, I've got to remember like times, like the time frame of when I was at school. Like, because I was thinking, hang on, 10 years, like I was 9. Right. What school was that when I was 9 years old? I had to remember the dates and basically the entire employment history. I'm like, oh, now we are talking, like, because if you was out of work for a bit, you had to basically put that you was out of work and all this. And so it was like going through your minds, like all this information that they're asking. It's like, I've never had to give this information before. Like, and then I think I ended up getting a phone call for something I can't remember. Basically, I got a phone call for them to ask stuff. I was like, all right, okay, sorted. And then I had to wait about 2 weeks for the actual thing to come through.
Did you have to do fingerprints or a drug test?
No.
Oh,
I think
okay.
because at that point, I believe when the UK was still within the EU,
Okay.
I think a lot of companies were like, no, we don't do wide scale drug tests.
Okay.
Like, I think, again, don't quote me, I think it was a case of, because we were subject to random locker searches. So it was then a case of if you were found in possession, you may have had to take a drug test to prove that you was not on the drugs.
Okay.
But no, we didn't have to fingerprint or anything. What was really annoying was if I moved address, I would have to get in contact with the gambling commission and basically say, hiya, I've moved address. And they'd be like, okay, just send us proof. But it's like trying to get through, it's like talking to a brick wall, trying to get hold of them. It's physically impossible. No one knows how to get into contact with the gambling commission at all.
And remind people who are watching real quick, where was this located again?
Nottingham.
Okay.
So I worked in Nottingham for 2.5 years. I then got a internal transfer up to Edinburgh in Scotland. I stayed there for about 5 months, I think, not long at all, and then I came back to Nottingham to carry on, and then I took redundancy shortly after. So I was like, at that point, it was a case of, as much as I love the job, I can't do it anymore. No, absolutely not.
What were some of the differences between the United Kingdom and Scotland?
The money, because obviously in England it was a case of you obviously you'd have your 5, your 10, and your 20 quid and £50 notes, and like they were recognisable because 5s were green, 10s were like a orangey brown.
Mm-hmm.
Your 20s were purplish, and your 50s were red. But then obviously going up to Scotland, because they use 4 different banks, so each bank produced their own like notes. So it was a case of getting thrown a bet that was £100 and getting thrown 2 notes. You think, oh, 250s, but they were bright green, and so it was like, no. I called no bet, like, no, it's not valid. We can't accept it. It comes in, customer kicks off like, what are you on about? This was a valid bet. The management had to come over and say, what's the issue? I generally thought, because I turned to him and says, this customer's throwing me a bet, but they're using euros, not pounds. And he had to like explain, like, no, like this is the £50 notes up here. Like, so I was like, okay. So I got took off table. I had to be given a little crash course on all the different notes that I'll end up seeing. Like through that, I'm like, why can't it just be universal? Like, just have the same note.
Did you ever did you have to check them? Did you have to look for counterfeit money, and was counterfeit money ever used on your table?
So every time we got cash, because obviously we've changed from like the paper ones to like the plastic notes.
Mm-hmm.
So during when we was using the paper ones, it was a case of whether it was £20 or £2,000, it was a case of you'd have to count it out and then get a pen and just run it along to check. Regarding counterfeit, I have had a few counterfeit notes on my table. Luckily, the bet didn't come in, so it was like not valid anyway. So when I went to check, like, it was like, you just see this big black line across the note, and you're like, that's not meant to happen. This did not happen.
That's not normal.
No. So basically, you've got to stop the entire game when you've got about 10, 15 people around the table getting angry because you're not dealing. I'm like, there's a black line on the note. This is not meant to happen. That's why I'm stopping the game. And then you've got to talk to the inspector and go, hiya, I've got. So then they basically had to go check the cameras, who threw it, then basically go talk to them like, look, what was occurring? I think it may have been a case of may have to call the police because obviously possession of counterfeit money, like something that doesn't look good on us if we're accepting it.
Wow.
I will admit there was some dealers that wasn't as vigilant as others when it comes to counterfeit notes.
Oh man.
So when you're stuck in the count room counting all the cash for yesterday's drop, and you put it into the machine and it keeps spitting this note out, and then you gotta use the pen to double check, and then you just see that black line, you're like, that's why.
Oh man. That's really interesting. Now, we do have a couple questions from our viewers. Before we get into that, I just want to do a quick commercial break. I hope you guys don't mind. So, real fast, a word from our sponsor. Now, for our viewers out there, if you like this video and you want to help support Vegas Aces, please remember to tip your dealer, and now you can with Super Chat. Super Chat is a way YouTube allows you to show your appreciation by tipping me any amount you want. Go ahead, give it a try, or show your support by becoming a member of our Patreon page. We have several different levels and rewards for you to choose from. Any membership level counts, even $1, so please go join today. Okay, so we have some questions from the Peanut Gallery, so I want to bring some of these up. A lot of people are saying hi, so hello. Now, Greg says, do you have any memorable drunk people stories?
Because obviously quite a lot because we was a 24-hour casino, open every single day apart from Christmas Day. So it would be a case of like 5 o'clock in the morning. You have people stumbling in from the nightclubs. I think I generally had one guy because I think he'd just come back off holiday, and he tried to use euros on the table. I was like, mate, we cannot accept that at all. But he was adamant, like, no, this is the money that you use in the UK. I'm like, no, it's not. It doesn't have the Queen's face on. It's not legitimate. And he was adamant to the point he was getting very aggressive and started swearing and this, that, and the other because I wouldn't take his money. Like, he then went off on this big, massive rant, like, oh, all casinos want to do is just steal your money. Like, they'll rob you blind. But as soon as you actually offer them the money, they don't want it.
I'm glad to know that the players in the UK do the same thing that the players in Las Vegas do and accuse the casinos of stealing their money. It's like a universal thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, a lot of them don't seem to like when they're drunk, they don't seem to comprehend. Or I remember one time I was on blackjack dealing, and a guy had 20. He decided to hit, like, ended up getting a 2. So I'm like, all right, you've lost. Right. I didn't say it like that. I was a bit more professional. But he was arguing with me the whole time, like, no, that's 21. That's 21. You don't know how to count. I'm thinking, neither do you, darling. But we'll just ignore that. Like, he was adamant. Like, so because I can't reconstruct the cards. Like, I had to call my inspector over. And he was like, what's the issue? I'm like, the customer here thinks that he got 21 when he obviously got 22. He's not believing me until I show him the cards. Now, I have to get your permission. And he was like, yeah, just do it. Like, it. Like 10, 22. No, that's 21. That's 20. Worst is because we was based in the city centre, like, obviously a lot of the weekday nights, especially Wednesdays, is student night. So you'd have a lot of students coming in. And I think the best one was a guy, again, playing blackjack. Like, he bust and he again argued that I couldn't count. It turned out he was doing a maths degree. I'm like, you're doing a maths degree and yet you can't even count. Like, I don't know what it is. Drunk people just lose all sense of normality and just love to basically lose a lot of IQ points.
Yes.
Like, it's like, how did you get dressed in the morning with that level of IQ that you're currently showing me?
Yep.
Like, how?
We had a drunk woman on our table one time, and she was so wasted. She kept touching her face, and she had this bright red lipstick on. So she was getting like lipstick all over her face. Like, she'd have a smear here, a smear here. Like, there was just lipstick everywhere, and she got it all over her hands. And this was the annoying part. When she touched her cards, she would mark the cards with a red lipstick. And the floor super was like, God, now we have to change those cards. So we changed the cards, and then she'd do it again, and we have to change the cards again, and then she'd do it. And it's just finally got to the point where it's like, okay, you need to just leave. Go away.
Obviously, the casinos I dealt at, customers could not touch the cards on blackjack at all. It was all dealer. Only the dealer could touch them. Obviously, there was one drunk woman at a roulette table I was dealing at. Now, in the nicest way, she was quite a large girl on top with a very low-cut dress. So I've just basically dollied the number to indicate the winning number. I'm starting to clear. She bends over. Everything falls out. Chips go flying. I'm just like, oh, God. She didn't realise this had happened. She didn't realise her puppies had basically fell out. I'm like, how do I tell her? Like, do I like signify to like one of the guests to be polite? Do I say something? Do I get my inspector to basically like can you tell her that she's exposed herself?
Oh.
I just felt really awkward. I was like, oh God, I don't know what to do.
What happened?
The inspector had to basically, in the politest way, say, "Excuse me, love. Can you put your baps back in? They've caused disruption on the table and has basically distracted the dealer from his job." So she then realised, she was like, "Oh." So she put everything back. Like, luckily, the chips that she knocked didn't interfere with the chips that I was taking away. So it was like, "Here's your chips back."
Oh.
She then just cashed in due to the embarrassment. I was like, I don't blame you, love, honestly. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Oh, man. And I swear that's part of dealing, is you see naked people sometimes and it's just like shocking, but they're there and you can't do anything.
What made it worse was, as I was clearing, I was sort of like eye level with them. So as I was like scooping, eye level contact, I was like, do I look? Don't I look? Like, what do I, like?
How could you not look if they're right there?
In the nicest way, like, they're a bit hard to miss.
Oh my God. Oh man, drunk people, I swear, they give us the best stories. We have one more question from the chat. So Alex says, what is your favorite game to deal? Mine is craps.
Oh, mine varied, because sometimes it'd be roulette due to it being very fast paced, very thinking all the time, like just basically just in the zone, getting it done. At times I loved that. There was a lot of my time there, I absolutely hated blackjack.
Why?
Because I think it was like the joke, like, what's green and has 7 arseholes, pardon my French, a blackjack table. Like, that's because that's how it was. It was just everyone who sat there.
Yeah.
They were just absolute not nice people. Like,
no, I completely agree with you. Like, roulette was one of my favorite games to deal, and blackjack was one of my most hated games to deal because blackjack was so boring. You know, I would just want to fall asleep. And at least with roulette, there was like math and you could do stuff and you had to watch the whole table. And I loved it.
Even when I was stood on an empty roulette table, I had chips to play with. I was able to keep myself entertained. When I was stood at blackjack, I couldn't do that, like, because the float was locked, like the cards were in the machine. I was like,
you would get in trouble. You would, if you were on a blackjack table playing with chips, you would so get in trouble.
Like, so it was a case of I just got told, stand there, look pretty. Like, so it was a case of I was just bored. So 9 times out of 10, I used to just play on the system thing on the tablet. Like, so I'd be like, oh, who's in today? Oh, they're in. Yeah, they're annoying. They're annoying. They're not bad, but they don't play blackjack much. Oh, he's in. Oh, why? I absolutely despised 3-card poker throughout the entire time I was there. I despised it because I don't know if it's the same over there, but especially as you have like the older generation, they'll be sat there. It's only 3 cards, but they take about 20 minutes to lock. But they like do it millimeter by millimeter, and you're like, just sort of go, well, okay. Like, it made the game a lot faster because we have to. We got told, oh, you need to deal so many hands an hour. And it's like, I would, but we've got these people here who take 5 minutes to look at the first 2 cards. How can I deal that many hands?
And that's one of the things about being a dealer is like you have to keep your game pace up, but at the same time you can't piss off the players. You can't be like, come on, dude, move move.
No.
Like you have to, do it nice and gently and not offend anyone.
On roulette, you could. On roulette, you could speed the game up.
Well, you have the ball spinning. You could be like, it's going to drop in 2 seconds. You have no choice.
I mean, it's like when I moved to Edinburgh, because I came from a casino that was based in the city centre, moving to a casino that was quite out of the city. So what they would consider a very busy Saturday night would be a standard Thursday afternoon for me. So it was getting to the point, if a table was losing money in Edinburgh, like I'd come on shift and be like, see that table over there? It's losing money. Go sort it. Like, it got to the point. If you can clear it in 15 minutes, like we'll let you go home half an hour early. I was like, my time.
We can do this.
We can definitely do that. And 9 times out of 10, I just basically pick up the speed of the game, like just literally calling numbers left, right, and centre. But most people are just like, yeah, can I cash out now? I'm like, yeah, no bother, here you go. And then just go. So 9 times out of 10, when I was in Edinburgh, I was stood on a really empty table 9 times out of 10. I'd go join a busy table, I'd leave with an empty table.
Oh man, that's funny. You were the cooler.
Basically, it's like one of my mates, he got dubbed the Angel of Death for 3-card poker.
Nice.
Because there was one customer who would literally just take all the cash out of the float, and then they just sent him on, and he'd just get the cash right back.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like every dealer has their own game that when they get put on it, sorted. Like the casino knows they're in safe hands.
Yep. I was the blackjack one. It would be a swing shift. They would want to close the table, and the table was dumping. They're like, oh, just put Heather on there. They put me on there, and I would seriously get like a 5-card 21 every single time. And the players hated me so badly.
Oh, yeah, I love when you get the multiple card 21.
Yes.
Like, I think the most I got was an 8-card 21. Like, and they're like, how? And we're like, I don't know. Just looking, I guess.
And you can't do it when you're a player. You can only do it when you're a dealer. It does not happen when you go play the game.
Exactly. Like you go to a different casino and you're like, I've got the luck. Nah, you just turn into another player.
Yep.
and you basically feel like, I used to love going to our rival casino and basically tormenting the trainee dealers. So like the brand new dealers, you're like, because there'd be a group of us that would go like 4 or 5. And we're like, right, in the nicest way, as much as we complain about the idiots that we have to deal with, for 5 minutes, let's be them idiots. But the way we see it, it's a case of we're training them. Like, we're basically saying, this is how customers are. Deal with it.
Now, before we continue on, because there is a couple questions I do want to ask you. I think we went through all the questions in the chat. So if you guys have any more questions to ask Sterling, speak now or forever hold your peace. Before we ask those questions, we have to do a quick commercial break. And then when we come back, I want to ask you about throwing things at players. So 1 second, and we'll be right back. If you guys like this video and you want to help support Vegas Aces, then one of the ways you could do so is by going to vegas-aces.com and clicking on one of our affiliate banners. When you sign up for an account through an affiliate link from our site, we get a small commission. If you ever have any problems or disputes, please email me at heather@vegas-aces.com and we will help you through it. Okay, so last part of the show, Have you ever had anyone throw anything at you before? Any players throw anything? Now, I've said this story like a couple times on my channel, so I'm sure people are sick of hearing it, but I had an ashtray thrown at me one time. So have you ever had anything like that happen to you?
I've had cards thrown at me from 3 card and 4 card poker. I've had roulette color chips thrown at me because this customer wanted a certain color because it was their lucky color. But it was a busy Friday night. I couldn't just go, oh, yes, sir, give me 1 second. Like, excuse me, could you bring me all your chips so this customer can play? No. So I had to give him, because he wanted dark blue. So I gave him light blue. I think I got a stack thrown at me, like, or a stack and a half, because it wasn't the right blue. I'm like, I'm sorry, you have to be an adult to be here, not a child. I've had someone throw their hat at me, pens, mainly pens thrown at me by the inspectors. We'd get bored and we'd just literally just grab a pen, like, and just throw it at each other across the tables. Like, especially if both of us were thinger.
That brings a new meaning to crossfiring.
Basically, because also we'd have like 4 tables in a pit, like, and so it'd be a case of you'd have a set of keys for 1 pit, set of keys for the next pit, set of keys for the next pit. So I had to lock up on blackjack, and the keys were on the second roulette table. It was diagonal. So I asked for the keys. It got thrown. I went to catch it, missed, and it just smacked me in the eye. So I was like, cheers for that. I've now just had keys thrown at me. So
oh, man.
I was like that for a bit. Like, but yeah, I had someone spit at me once while I was on break. I was enjoying my break. I was like, I've got my coffee, I've got my cigarettes, I'm happy as Larry, ain't got to deal with anything. Customer comes up to me, starts giving me all that. I'm like, it's only the game, we've got no control, we can only do so much. I think he cursed like a sailor at me, and he just went, pooh. I was like, ew. So I just went to the pit. I was like, yeah, drunk guy out there, can we kick him out? He's just spat on me. Showed him my waistcoat, big bit of spit, and they were like, yeah, fine. Like, if you want, like, you was meant to, you finished in half now. Do you want to just go home now? I was like, sweet.
Well, at least you got an EO out of it, thank goodness.
Oh yeah, full pay as well. Like, because they were like, oh yeah, just last break it. Just go on last break.
Nice. Oh my God. People, man, what are they thinking?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think when money's involved, a lot of people just lose common sense and think that they're this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, absolutely not.
Money and alcohol.
Oh yeah, and
yeah.
Other times, other things.
Yes.
I've walked into the toilet once and seen a gentleman bent over with a rolled up £20 note.
Oh man.
So that's like, ah.
Did you just turn around and walk right back out?
I mean, I was like, turned around, had to go talk to management and basically like, there's a guy sniffing in the toilets.
Oh God.
Like, made the little joke. I was like, he didn't even share it, but you know. So obviously he got kicked out and banned.
Oh my God. Yeah, same thing. Like we have people use drugs here in Las Vegas. What was it, in 2000? I had a guy actually light up a joint on my table, and this was before it was even like socially acceptable. You know, this was when it was still like locked down. Oh my God, it's you know, really dangerous and all that. So the guy just like lit up on my my table, and he started smoking on my table, and I'm like, sir, that's illegal. You can't do that. Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I got a medical marijuana license, see, from some other state. So it's totally good. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that, dude. You can't just, you know, do that. No, no.
Yeah, no, when I worked there, you wasn't allowed to smoke at all inside because basically it was just completely illegal since 2007. You couldn't go to pubs, clubs, bars, casino. You couldn't go anywhere and just have a fag inside. You had to go stand outside.
Yeah.
We did have a drunk guy try to light a cigarette and was like, no, no, no. Like, luckily I was going on break, so I was like, no, 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 come with me, sir. I had to escort him out to the smoking area.
Oh my God. Did you have anything else thrown at you before I move on to my next question? Any hot women throw themselves at you?
No.
Ah, darn.
I think the only other thing that got thrown at me was abuse.
What?
That was abuse.
Abuse.
Yeah, and profanity. That's all that got thrown at me.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, unfortunately, that's why you need a thick skin as a casino dealer. I've had people be like, oh, you don't need a thick skin. Everything will be fine. Everyone's wonderful and great. And I'm like, okay, you've never been a casino dealer before, have you?
I also feel like you need a good level of sarcasm and passive aggressiveness.
And so, yeah, a sense of humor and everything completely.
Especially through the graveyard shift when it's about 5 o'clock in the morning, you're like, 2 hours left.
Right.
And then you get the drunk customers try and talk to you, and you're just like, mate, you're making no sense. Like, you got to basically babysit at that point. And it's like,
that's what you're doing. Yeah, you're babysitting. Now, I know things are a little bit different on that side of the world. Now, you guys actually have Punto Banco over there. You guys are actually still having it in your casinos and playing it and everything. We don't have Punto Banco. We have Baccarat, but it just fascinates me that, you know, you have one version and we have another. And I'm always seeing her talking about Punto Banco. What was it like to actually learn to deal it?
So, I mean, we do have Baccarat over here as well, but it's more.
You do?
Yeah, so obviously because it's quite big within the Chinese community. So there's a casino in London, and obviously it's quite near Chinatown. So it is literally, they do have quite a lot of Punta Banco or Baccarat tables. So basically, we just had a smaller version. I had to try and learn the commissions, but yeah, no, I struggled to learn them. And the person who was meant to be training me was like, all right, you've got a £60 bet. What's the commission? I was like, and she's like, no. It basically had to be, all right, you've got this. What's the commission? You're like, oh, okay, yeah, bam. Like, I got taught the drawing rules. The only thing I can remember is when you put the back card, you make sure you've got 7. That's the only thing I remember. Like, the only thing I remember from that, like a natural 8 and 9. That's it. That's all I remember from actually learning, because I never got to deal it because I was never sufficiently trained. So it was like that's literally it.
Okay, gotcha. Now, before we end this live stream, because we are going to have to end this a little early today, we're going to take a look and see your comments real fast. Now, I'm not able to respond to everybody's comments, although some of your comments are really funny. We do have one. How do you guys accommodate handicapped players? I had a pit boss tell me that I had to sit at a blackjack table stool, but I had hip injury or hip surgery and a brace that kept me locked till sitting time for healing. Is this normal?
I mean, in England, like we did have someone come in with a similar situation. Like normally it was a case of, if you're not sat, you can't play. Obviously, you could play behind someone, but obviously they spoke to the pit boss and he went, "No, that's absolutely fine. Like, you've given us a reason why. Like, we've got no issue with that." Right. So it was. I think it's more per casino discretion rather than just a universal rule. It was more per casino.
Okay, that makes sense. And then real quick, thank you, Joey, very, very much for the super chat. Really do appreciate it. Joey is also from the UK. So he was saying that he's really happy to hear another UK British accent on here. So thank you again, Joey. Very, very much appreciate that. Now, before we end this live stream, is there anything else you want to tell us, Sterling? Anything that we didn't cover?
You was on about, have I had things thrown at me? I have, but I also threw something at a customer.
Oh,
So obviously, when I was in Scotland, and there is a lot of Scottish people that are not a massive fan of the English, and he was basically all night like he'd follow me table to table, just give me abuse, and like I was like, mate, I've heard it all before. Like, can you think of something more and more creative? And I was just near the end of my shift, and I was ready to burst. He then decided to insult my mum
oh no.
and say some very nasty things about my mother, to the point where I just picked up the dolly, which was just made of pure acrylic, just lobbed it, it hit the table, bounced up, hit him. Like I got taken off the table very, very sharpish. Right. They reviewed the whole night's footage of basically his interactions with me, and they were like, we're meant to discipline you, but because you kept your cool throughout majority of the whole shift, we're just going to give you a warning. Like, just don't do it again. I was like, well, just bar him. And they're like, oh, no, we are going to bar him. Like, he will not be able to set foot in here again. But maybe next time, if you get someone like that, come talk to us first. I'm like, okay.
Well, at least they were nice about it. At least they didn't, give you too much crap.
To be fair, he was absolutely trolleyed. Like, so I don't think he knew what was happening half the time. Yeah, it was quite fun.
I'm glad it worked out. Well, thank you again so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your stories. Really, really do appreciate having you on. And I hope we can have you on again sometime in the future. I know there's a lot more I'd love to ask you.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's like I've enjoyed being on here. Like, obviously, anytime you want us back, just drop us a message. I'm like, sweet, yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Do appreciate that. And just a quick reminder for people who are watching, Vegas Aces is supported by viewers like you. Donations make it possible for us to bring you all of these videos for free. If you think this video was worth more than $0, please donate the amount you feel it's worth by clicking the link in the description below. Okay, that does it for today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for joining us. Please join us on our next live stream. We do a live stream every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, this is Heather Ferris reminding you that education can change the world.